Alrighty. Hello and welcome to the Sage of Tarn Alpha version 0.43, January 2020. So to follow up on last time, what I've been working on primarily is sorting out the performance issues that we had. And those are largely fixed at this point, or the performance issue is fixed. There is one bug that I just found while I was testing here, so we'll get to that. Let's just jump straight into it though. The additions, as you can see on screen, we now have a very initial splash screen with a bit of art that I am not entirely happy with yet. It's still a work in progress, especially the button. But yeah, let's move into the game, shall we? We have an additional mechanic, which is that the player can now toss things. Currently, however, it can only toss one thing, which is our small friends from before. This does double as a initial mechanic for tossing things, as well as it's gonna be my go-to spawner at this point, because I'm gonna show you some live stress testing just for good measure. So, before we head into the adjustments, let's talk about the performance issues from last time. When we had 50 units, we would see the red bar up here in the top go really, really crazy. We will still see that, however, now it will scale somewhat linearly and not scale out of control. It will still be laggy, but it will be controlled lag, if you will. So let me just do this. Here we go. Spam them all. Okay, 52, whatever. That's good. As you can see, a lot of things is going on screen, especially if I get like right into the middle of the fray. Yeah, I'm trying to force myself down in there, but it's not going to work because they keep bouncing me around. As you can see, we have quite a bit of the bar now. However, if I leave this, you know, in less than 2 minutes, nothing will have happened, which by comparison to last time is a great improvement, considering that if I left it for 2 minutes with the old system, the red bar would go all the way across the screen, and we will lose all of our FPS. So not only is this better than the old version, or it is better than the old version because we can actually crank it up even more. Let's push it up to around, I think with all that I have going right now, 75 is probably the best. As you can see, it's fairly laggy. However, it's stable lag at this point, which is good. It means that it's manageable. You know, it's not gonna go completely out of control. Now, if you worry about the number going down for the unit types, I found out that they can get deloaded if they get too far away from us, so that's just why. Don't worry about it too much. Anyways, enough of this. Let's reset. So now that we have a lot of units everywhere, or the units function as they should, now the game becomes about how to make them be spread out and spawn in the level. So this includes a few things, which is not only that we can control the performance by adding like 5 here, and let me just speed up to another area, 5 here, and then let's go this way, over here. What I'm attempting right now is to create like a feeling of you having units all around the area, like in the entire mine, while at the same time also keeping the performance on reasonable levels, right? So assuming we start from this position where there's only one unit, we move through the mine this way. There's some life behind us. There's now some life here a little bit in front of us as well. Okay, so life on top. If we go down, there's also a bit of life. And if we go all the way to the bottom, we will find it as well. If I spawn some, yeah. So this spreads out the feeling of units being everywhere, while at the same time maintaining a low, like, current unit count, stabilizing the performance. This is something I will have to keep in mind for when I start adding how the units will be spawned in, as well as how they will be loaded and deloaded. But it's nice to see that it's sort of already working, right? We can move away from this area. Ooh. And up here. And then we find a couple of these dudes. Now, let's get into the additions. So what is added? Obviously, as you can see, we have re-added the curves to the world, because we now have the code that functions for it. so we can jump into the thing without, you know, going through the world. That's really good, nice. I've added a, for the players and the mobs, we have changed their sprites, so it's very clear to see that I am the player and they are just some small gray blobs. Not much of an improvement, I am aware, over the old system, but at least we have a little bit more separation now. Also, they fit a little bit more thematically into the world, but it still needs more, it still needs proper art, I would say. Size difference also, this is only standardized, we can still, you know, swap the size if we want. I'm not going to mess around with it too much. Let's see, what else do we have? I have changed their brain slightly, so now they don't jump. Before they would... Currently they're just walking back and forth with a random interval. And depending on the level, like the curves and all that, that kind of dictates where they end up. Because they kind of, you know, lemming their way through the world, basically. If they bump into each other or me, they will be launched, though, and they can then continue to bounce. So that adds another element to it, which is very nice. Also further cementing that we don't really need them to dash or jump or whatever you want to call it. Next step is that, of course, the entirety of the old system has been rewritten, except for the fact that I just found a bug when I was doing this recording. I basically found it like right now. That right there. They should only bounce when they hit the circle. When the two green circles hit. As you can see right there, that's not what happens. He hits my... like what is below me, and then he still gets knocked away. So while the function of it works and the performance issue for it is correct, the detection method for the ground version of the collision is a little bit off. So I'm going to have to adjust that in the following update. Alright, moving on. We have a couple of bugs. We still have the two from last time, the two pending bugs that I haven't bothered looking into because they're not that important. We have had a game-breaking bug for a while, which is usually not a problem when you only have the player, but when we have units that can get to it... Oh, let me just move that. Should probably have done that a bit before, but whatever. Then we can reach another issue. Now, we have, of course, as mentioned in previous videos, the areas are generated through chunks. So we don't have all of the ground loaded at all of the time, which of course you can see as well up there. Now let's say, but as an example, that this chunk over here, if we split this one down in the middle, that these two are loaded and these two over here aren't. If a unit reaches this point when they walk on a surface, like if I would want to do this, when I go from this one to the other one, I will try and locate something which is unloaded, and that will cause a crash because it needs to use that information, which can happen if the unit is walking outside our load range. So, like, not here, but all the way outside, like all the way over there, like out the screen. I can't point it with the mouse. If you can even see the mouse, I'm not sure, but you know, it's all the way that way, where I'm tossing them away, over there. So if they manage to reach that point, they can basically crash game. They can no longer do that now. They just get stuck on this point. That's the bottom line. It's very, very simple. It's a solution for now because I'll still have to deal with the fact that what if they jump over the edge and then, you know, get deloaded inside something that it can get a little complicated. Don't worry about it too much. Let's see, what else do we have? We have, yep, I just found that out as well while I was doing this. Let's see if we can find a place where we can do it. This should function. Now, if I toss a unit up until this ridge, instead of starting to walk down, as they should do, they start to, see here, they start to slide down. This would obviously make normal sense in most scenarios. However, there's just sometimes where they do it on a surface such as this one, where they shouldn't be able to slide, basically, but they do it anyway. Not quite sure why they swapped to the slide animation, but let me just see if I can demonstrate it. Oops. There we go. It's very... I'm not sure if you can see it. Maybe I should do this. See if I can aim it correct. Oh. As you can see, he's sliding down instead of walking, right? He should just swap directly to walking. Okay, let me reset that. That's gonna be wonky if half of them are turned on. the final thing is that I do have one thing for, as well as one bug for when we collide with them on the ground. I do have one thing that can happen mathematically speaking when they're in the air that needs to be adjusted, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Of course, you cannot take square root of a negative number, and GameMaker has sometimes a problem with this when it has what I would like to call a negative 0. It has a value which it considers 0, which is not exactly 0. It's just such a small number that it's like regarded as if it is, and if that tiny number is a negative number, it will be a negative 0, and if that fucks up with the function of the square root, then that might be what's causing that bug. Very technical, I know, don't worry too much about it. It should be fairly easy to fix. It can cause the game to crash sometimes, which is why it's not so great, and why I have to look into it. But it also shouldn't be that big of an issue, because I can always just put a hard cap solution on it, and it will not be possible. That's pretty much about it. We don't have that many more pending things. We kind of have all of them described still. Structure of the code is the main thing. I've been doing that a little bit considering the rework here. I am also going to, for the next section, work more on the state machine. To give an example of it, what I mean by it is basically, okay, currently we have the player standing. Now we walk. Now we run. When we go up here, we start falling. We can also slide on this tiny edge here. We can dash, we can grab, we can let go and fall. Those are a lot of different types of states that the unit can be in. All of these are currently manually made by me, which functions fine when you only have one unit. However, when you have many, it becomes much nicer if you had a way to automate that process in a sense. Instead of making a unique set for the player, for this little guy, and for that little guy over there. Ooh, I can spawn them correctly. It would be nice to have a simple way of building a unit up, because then we can use the same thing for projectiles as we use for these small guys, just depending on whatever states they have. So I'm about to remake that system as well to be more applicable or more easy to use for me, with the purpose of making it easy to make different unit types so that we can populate the area of the game that we have currently. This means everything from the player to the small mobs, to the NPCs, to the projectiles that you can throw around, to the boss. And that's basically where I'm at currently. So pretty good progress, I would say. I'm very happy that we got past the performance bug and that's no longer an issue, because I was very worried about that. But yeah, it turned out to be the exact thing that I thought it was. Sometimes it's nice when you get a little lucky. Anyways, thank you for watching. This was a rather long one, but a lot of things has happened. So yeah, I hope to see you in the next one too. Take care.